whole situation was ridiculous because we are a democracy, number one, and we pride ourselves as being an inclusive democracy, which is very important to remember. So if you take people whose sexual preferences may be different, as long as they are consensual, there is no criminal activity in the sense that there is no danger to anybody's life or to what one might call an overall morality as such. When it's a consensual relationship between people of the same sex, I don't see why that should be kept outside the pale of society. Particularly in India, more than any other country in the world, we are a very diverse community of people. We are people of different kinds, different ethnic groups, different kinds of things. Why in a situation like this should a person's sexual preference, and if there is a consensual arrangement between people, why should that be made a criminal offense? On what basis? I cannot see the basis of it. So, which is one of the reasons why the petition came up in the first place. The High Court, in its own judgment, gave a very fine judgment. Because, for the very reasons that I'm also mentioning to you. But for some reason, which I cannot fathom, the Supreme Court has gone against it. And the sense of inclusion has been left. But here we are talking about a same-sex relationship on consensual basis. Why should the law object to this? It's as simple as that.
And it's been 63 years since the Constitution, and this is a highly unconstitutional law. So how did it survive for this long?
Well, this is the problem, you see, but not everything comes under the purview, but it's only when things get challenged because of one or another reason that you have to look at those problems again. In this case, particularly in this case, I think, because when it became a matter of some considerable seriousness, because you see, you shouldn't forget that the same-sex relationship between people is not something that is new. It's been there for ever since mankind. The existence of mankind. And ever since that time, there is a section of the population who have had these kind of things. Because, you cannot say it's unnatural, because some people are born that way, think that way, have a certain kind of sense of their own self in a manner that need not necessarily be like the majority of the people in our country. Now you have to make allowance for that. And what better system than a democracy that is inclusive, that will make allowance for it. Now if you're going to reject that, then you are rejecting the basis of an inclusive. But the fact is that it was there on our books. And so the Supreme Court judgment, the demand was to remove it, which the High Court accepted. The Supreme Court has said no. Well, this is on the face of it itself, I find that ridiculous. Because how can you say that when, for instance, the homosexual relationships graphically exist on temple sculpture of this country, whether it is Konarak or several other, whether it is Khajuraho or several other places. So why, I don't understand what is business of saying that Indian culture, because, how can the Supreme Court suddenly become the arbiters on religion and things like that, on matters of religion and religious beliefs? and also in matters of culture. On matters of law, yes, but not on culture.
Some people in favor of the law say that this 377 is not used too much in the society. So why, what's the problem with letting it stay?
Well, if somebody wishes to prosecute you, you always live with the sense that you are doing something illegal. Not only are you doing something illegal, but you are involved in a criminal act. That's not a nice thing. That's terrible. In fact, it's not nice at all.